Welcome to a new update video. This time we focus a lot around our compost, as it will be the soil for our young plants in spring, and start with the first winter projects. Enjoy it! Last year we already used our own compost or the ordered compost to raise our young plants. This is a science in itself. We're by no means professionals, but we tried it last year and had quite some success, so we want to do it this year again and improve it a little bit. Therefore, we will need to sieve our compost. Last year we did it by hand, holding a sieve and shaking it for hours. As we will need at least 2 cubic meters of this special soil, we want to make a sieve holder so that our forearms don't burn that much. For this we use just old wood and scraps and leftovers that we had from other projects, therefore it looks a little bit like a junkyard build. First we built 2 A-frames and then a big beam up between them. Here you can see me making the half overlapping joints, which we nearly use in every of our constructions, to join those 2 frames together. I added some boards to make it a little bit more rigid, as it was quite shaky. And here you can already see a little bit how I intended to use it. There's gonna be a wheelbarrow in the middle where all the sieved soil should fall into. That's why I'm creating those wings on the left and right of the opening, so that the earth will be guided towards the wheelbarrow. And with some leftover climbing rope, I hang the frame for the sieve, which I built off camera. As everything was a little bit too high, I cut it down and rounded over the edges on the bottom, as they will stand in the ground and soil and get wet, so that they hopefully will not rot too fast. As we had nice weather the next day, we took it out and tested it. Although it still requires some energy of your forearms, it's way easier to use than holding the whole sieve and shaking it on top of a wheelbarrow. And as we had some very nice friends over with way too much energy, we put them to work. After sieving through this more than 2-year-old compost and sorting out all the unwanted pieces in it, we started mixing up the soil for our young plants. Here we use a ratio of 2 pieces compost, 1 piece sand and 1 piece fine wood chips or sawdust, whatever you have handy. This particular recipe we haven't used yet, but we will report on it in spring when we have used this with our young plants. We always have the fallback option to just use our compost if that shouldn't work properly. Although we are very happy to have a young plant room in the house which is heated, it also poses a problem. It's in the first floor, meaning we have to carry up and down a lot of plants, a lot of soil, which first off makes the house dirty and second is very heavy. So we intended to build some kind of construction to raise and lower them automatically through a window. Last year we got those very nice white beech boards, and they needed to be cut down for further processing. The cores of them already formed cracked, and this part of the wood is usually not very usable. We ended up with a quite nice stack of of usable dimensions, and we had a lot of boards with cracks and the core in it. Here you can see some of those leftovers and see how bent they already are, but we didn't want to burn this rather nice wood. So we decided to cut it open into stripes and then run it to the planer to later on glue a beam out of them, and we were in for quite a surprise. After cutting them, we sorted the beams how we want to align them so that the middle layer is always turned, and then it was time for the glue up. We haven't used the jointed planer on those boards as they came out rather straight when we cut them on the circular saw. We just finished up the surfaces with a thickness planer, and here we just finished up the glue surfaces, so more strength of the dimension remains. As the middle layer was rotated, we needed some extra clamps to hold it inside the beam as it wanted to rotate out of it. "24 hours and a sticky floor later, the beam was dried, and we took up the clamps. And now to the surprising part. First here you see a normal beam out of white beech, and then in a second attempt you see the laminated white beech beam, which was drastically stronger. I always knew that glued up timber beams are way stronger than, so to say, normal wood, but this surprised me quite a lot, how much more weight it could take and how less it would bend. In the next coming weeks we will use those prepared beams to build the mentioned elevator for our soil and young plants. Although they survived for very long, now it was time to take out the tomatoes in the greenhouse. We got one last harvest out of them, which left us with quite a lot of green and yellow tomatoes. That was not the only task that had to be done. The greenhouse and the surroundings on that part of the farm have to be made winterproof. That also meant taking off the rain gutters outside of the greenhouse, collecting all the rain barrels and bringing them into a heated space, and putting the rest water into the greenhouse to water some stuff in it over winter. We built this work table quite some time ago. I'll put up a link in the video where we built it. And it had seen a lot of action as we use it for filling up the cups of our plants and a lot of other stuff. As it consistently also got wet through that, the boards have been bending and moving a little bit. We used some sanders to sand them to a certain degree flash level again, as this was a good point in time to maintain the table itself. This is a tedious and slow process. Lucky for us, we also have a little bit of a bigger band sander, and if my dad should see this, this is most likely not his. After finishing up the sanding process, we used some hard wax oil to seal up the surface again. Before that, we used some compressed air to get all the dirt out of the table. And here's a quick before and after shot. In the last video, I'll put the link up in the video here as well, we started to build the window for the folding door between the houses. As we lose a lot of heat there, it was essential to get it done before the really cold temperatures kick in. So this is gonna be a little bit of a quick fix. As the wood trim which we used on the folding door were rounded and exactly fitted into those glass frames, we just made them overlapping here and screwed them into place. And also didn't bother to silicone the sills along those glasses, as we will have to take them out and make them beautiful at any point in time. Although it has been just a quick fix for the door, it drastically improved the heat loss that we had. Currently it stays around 15 degrees at that small area, formerly with the outside temperatures that went down to 5. And that's already it for the last 2 weeks. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.